Gone are the days of what I call the happy clickers. You're dealing with a more educated consumer these days, and they want to be educated. So if you put out a piece of content out there that educates them and tells them exactly what they need to learn, your phone will ring a lot quicker if you don't do that.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Speak. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer. It's my pleasure to have Frank Demming with us. Frank owns and operates a lead generation digital marketing agency called Local Business Marketing Solutions. He helps small law firms increase their revenue by helping them promote their services using proven online marketing practices. Frank, it's so great to have you on the show.
I'm glad to be here, Stephan. Thanks for the invitation. I was honored when you asked for me to be here.
Let's talk about how you came into the digital marketing world, and then you focused in on law firms. Of all the verticals that you could target, why law firms?
How I stepped into the digital marketing arena was kind of by accident. I wanted to do my own thing because I was working very, very, very hard for a large IT service-based company that serviced the government, I should say. We used to do internal websites for them, for government agencies, the NSA, et cetera, et cetera. When I walked out of corporate America, I had a friend of mine who did websites. So he would do websites for me. I would outsource it for him to local businesses, small businesses. I started out doing nail salons and stuff like that, if you can believe that. It was okay, but I needed a way to get recurring revenue. So I taught myself digital advertising. I taught myself stuff like pay-per-click advertising, SEO, etc. I bought a ton of books. And this was back in 2007, 2008. 15 years later, I'm still in business. How I came to be going in with the lawyer space was a little bit more strategic. I hired a business coach. I joined a Business Mastery for Tony Robbins. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yep. I actually spoke a couple of times at Business Mastery.
Oh, you spoke? Oh, wow. Awesome. I think it's virtual now, but they used to go to Vegas all the time.
Yeah, I did it in Vegas. This was a decade ago.
Okay. So one of his coaches said, well, I think you're all over the place. One of the things that would help is if you streamline and you focus on one vertical, because I had HVAC companies, I had med spas, I had plumbers, you name it. And he goes, yeah, it's going to be very difficult for you to specialize on something. I looked at all of the clients that I had at the time, and I said, who do I enjoy working with the most? And I said, attorneys. They understand the need for marketing. I have never lost an attorney. Not one up until that point has said, Frank, I'm no longer I don't need your services anymore. Not one. So I was like, all right, in terms of a steady flow, attorneys seem like the right one, but it was difficult to attract only attorneys. So I had to learn that piece. And that's been now for the past 4 years that I've just been working with attorneys, and I'm glad I did.
So how do you attract only attorneys?
By providing content that only attorneys are interested in. I'm a huge advocate of content marketing. I'm an avid user of LinkedIn. Attorneys hang around on LinkedIn. And I also go to shows where the attorneys go, like here in New Jersey, they call NJAJ. It's like a convention almost, but only attorneys go to. And so I get a booth there, and you attract them as well. A lot of it's by content marketing and doing a lot of networking and say, hey,
podcasting too, right? So you have your own podcast
and podcasting. So another thing I do, thanks for I have my own podcast called Marketing Solutions for Local Law Firms. And I invite attorneys to speak on my podcast so they can, toot their own horn and talk about what their services are and etc. I market that podcast episode to their ideal customers so that they understand who they service, and voila.
Awesome. And how long have you been doing that for?
The podcast has been on for 4 years. I used to just do it as another learning curve. I used to just do it as a marketing show. The last 2 years has been only for attorneys. It's a hybrid. Sometimes it's just me providing content. And then there's sometimes that I have a series called Meet the Attorney series.
Cool, smart. I like it. I like it. And are you still active in the Tony Robbins world? Are you going to events? You networking with people who are into Tony Robbins?
I am not. After the pandemic, they asked me to come back, and I didn't want to do the virtual thing, for the same cost, because part of the experience of being there was great. But then that's taken away. I've got to sit in front of my computer doing it just like this, and it's the same cost. So I kind of lost it. I think they're still doing it virtually, as a matter of fact, even if the pandemic's over. But I don't know. I may go back to it if they go live. I'll do it again.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I have been to a Tony Robbins event, probably a decade. Yeah, it's been about a decade. So, like I said, I spoke at Business Mastery several times. I've attended Date with Destiny 3 times, Unleash the Power Within 5 times. I did Leadership, which is another one of his events that he doesn't even speak at. They just show some videos of him, and you break boards with your hand and stuff like that. It's good. It's a good event.
You drank the Kool-Aid more than I have done.
Oh yeah, well, I joined Platinum Partnership. Yes, so it's an all you can drink Kool-Aid event or program, so you can attend all the events for free, as many as you want. You can go travel around the world to, let's say, Australia, UK, or wherever he's presenting these seminars, and attend for free as part of Platinum Partnership. Plus, you got these exclusive events that are only Platinum Partner events. There are 4 of them, and yeah, I did those, and I did as many of the events as I could of his, just regular public seminars. And each time I'd learn something new, but then got to be like, okay, I think I can kind of teach this stuff. I've heard it enough. So yeah, it was really life changing, and now I'm doing other stuff.
It's funny. I gave the credit of the niching down to attorneys to the business mastery, the coach, the business coach of the business mastery. But really and truly, where that concept was birthed was back in 2009 when I joined Dan Kennedy's program, Glazer Kennedy. And that coach used to talk about niching down. I mean, he wasn't as profound, or he wasn't as clear as the Tony Robbins coach, or maybe I was just ready to hear it differently. I don't know. I was a more mature business person back then. But I remember him always saying, you got to niche down, because they would do group coaching. It wasn't, the Tony Robbins thing was an individual coach. It was directly to me, but he was just talking in general to, the best thing to do is niche down, pick your vertical, go after that vertical. That way your messaging is clear, yada, yada, yada. I just never did. That was back in '09. So I could have been in a different position if I listened back then.
But everything unfolds the way it's meant to. So no point kicking yourself for something that you could have done differently. And were you active in Dan Kennedy's Glazer Kennedy community, or was that just kind of a one-off?
I was a junkie there for a little bit. Yeah.
I can relate. I haven't done a lot of Dan Kennedy seminars or events, but I did do the GKIC Super Conference one time. It was good. Yeah, I think it was maybe 2017, 2018, something like that. I actually have had Dan Kennedy on this podcast, which is pretty awesome.
Oh, really? The master himself.
He's a brilliant curmudgeon.
Yeah, I learned a lot from him.
He can get really cranky, but wow, pearls of wisdom for sure.
I remember there was a joke, mean old Dan. So the coach would always call. He goes, "Well, next week we're gonna have mean old Dan here, so you better be." I would never forget that. I was like, okay.
I had to fax his assistant, who then faxed him, even though it was like 2017. That was strange.
You could never get to him. You couldn't get to him.
Yeah. He still might be using one of those old style phones that are from the early days that don't have internet. But whatever works, if that helps keep the riffraff away, then it works. But I'm a seminar junkie myself, have been for many, many years. And right now, currently, I think I'm in 5 masterminds. So it's a lot. I don't go to every single event. I don't for virtual things. I don't even show up for every single virtual event. But Yeah, it's nice to be in a tribe and a community of people who are like-minded and have similar values and desire to grow and evolve and contribute.
I'm glad you said that. I'm in two masterminds, and I was thinking, maybe I should just cut it down to one. What I need to be in two? Why am I stretching myself too thin? Knowing that you're in five inspires me to keep going.
Which ones are you in?
But it's just masterminds that we formed based on certain groups. Like, so I've gained from friendships from the Tony Robbins program. So we from what masterminds. Are you familiar with Go High Level? There's a system that it's a marketing system. So you're part of that, and you join those masterminds there as well. So those are the two that I'm in.
Go High Level.
Yeah, it's a marketing tool that us digital marketers use.
Okay. Yep. I see it now. It's gohighlevel.com.
Yes, sir.
They serve agencies and marketers. Cool. Yeah. So, what would be something that you have learned and have maybe made a massive return on investment from one of these masterminds? So it doesn't have to be a mastermind. It could be a seminar. I know you shared that niching down idea came from two seminars that were, just at the right time. You got the right message, and then eventually made that pivot. But like, what would be another example of something that has really paid for itself many times over in terms of the ROI from something you learned and applied?
So it's not so much a strategy or anything like that, but it was some other advice that I got from another mentor, a guy by the name of Terry Duff, who actually talked to me about Dan Kennedy. That's how I found out about Dan Kennedy. He said something that I will never ever forget, that I think is the only thing that has me in business for almost 16 years. It was 15 going on 16 years, and that's, you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I love that. Yeah. I think about that all the time, actually. Yeah, that's one of the things that really is a guiding light for me. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah, I love how you shared that.
I will never forget that. He told me that, and I didn't know what he meant at the time, but as I was going through my journey, I was like, okay, this is what he must be talking about. And the reason why that was so effective to me is, a lot of the people that I run into in masterminds and in other places in this entrepreneurial journey, they come from a family of entrepreneurs. They come from a legacy of entrepreneurs. Their mother was an entrepreneur, their father was an entrepreneur, their uncle, this and that. For me, it's not the case. Everyone in life, I was always raised, hey, you got to go to school, go to college, get a degree, get a good job, and pay your bills. That was it. No one ever talked about hanging out your shingle and growing your business. And yeah, I didn't know that mindset. So him knowing that background about me, and him knowing what I was going through when I was struggling, when we did start talking, is that was his best advice. And that really has changed a lot in me. Another thing came from him as well, is you can get everything right with marketing and in business, but if your mindset's off, you will fail. Conversely, you can do everything wrong in marketing and everything, and you will succeed. He said, so what does that tell you? He said, get my mind right. He said, exactly. So your mindset has to be right. What's your purpose? And that was another game changer for me. I attribute those two things to being in business for 15 years still. Because I would have quit back in 2012.
The vast majority of businesses do not survive 10 years. It's like 90 something percent don't make it. 95%, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an astronomical number. Yes. So I feel very proud that I was able to do it. And I mean, I've withstood two very big events, '08 and COVID, and I'm still here. But following advice from people who are a lot smarter than I am.
We all stand on the shoulders of giants. We all do.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to invest in yourself, though. I would, if I was to talk to a person who's just getting started, you got to invest in yourself. You can't yeah, you can go on YouTube and learn some things here and there, but there's nothing like investing in yourself and people who, people of the Dan Kennedys of the world, Tony Robbins of the world, you know, and really, really, really going after it. That's really the best thing.
Let's talk about local marketing. And what are some of the latest trends and tools, techniques, and tips that you want to share with our listener about that?
It takes a long time, but really and truly, the best thing for local businesses, local law firms, is specifically is content marketing. To be honest, I remember Bill Gates said it years ago. Content is king, and he wasn't lying because you were dealing now. Gone are the days of what I call the happy clickers. You're dealing with a more educated consumer these days, and they want to be educated. So if you put out a piece of content out there that educates them and tells them exactly what they need to learn, your phone will ring a lot quicker if you don't do that. Let's talk about SEO for a minute. A lot of people say, well, yeah, you can do keywords with SEO. So keywords like estate planner near me, that'll work still. But it'll be a lot better if you put out a piece of content on your blog or maybe on a third party site, if you can, that educates people of your state's laws around, trusts or whatever. There's a website, I'll give you a little nugget here, called Answer the Public, that tells you all what people are asking about. So you just put in your keyword, anything that's going on in your industry, and you see what people are already talking about, and you write a blog about it, or you do a guest post on someone else's blog about it, a blog that gets a lot of traffic, and you would be amazed at the difference between that traffic converting versus the estate planner near me, if you know what I mean, traffic. So that is you know that's what's working right now tremendously, especially for attorneys. Another thing that's working, and this is more on the personal injury side, are display ads. It's tremendous when you're driving down the road and you see all of these billboards, hey, car accident, call so and so, whatever. Now we've transformed that onto the internet where you go on CNN.com, NewYorkTimes.com, WashingtonPost.com, all these highly trafficked websites, when you put banners on those websites. Now, the beauty of this is not everyone sees it. I will never see that because I'm not in Miami, or I've never typed anything that has anything to do with personal injury on the internet, whether it be on my phone. I've never did a search on YouTube on it. I've never done it. There's no history of me ever doing that. I've never walked into a hospital, in a trauma center, nothing. So the display ads, it's so sophisticated these days where I can actually pin that down and say, okay, Stephan has done these 5 things. Therefore, he must be a candidate for a personal injury attorney. And that then and only then you see an ad that says personal injury, if you have a personal injury, give me a call. Dog bite, same thing. Medical malpractice, same thing. That's what I call highly targeted marketing. That's what's happening right now.
So what platforms, because it's not just Google where you could do display ads. What platforms are you advising your clients to be on, and how do you test that, make sure it's performing?
We started on Google because that's the big bear, right? But we would go on things like Hulu, for instance, because streaming video is any place where like Peacock and all these things that allows advertising, we leverage it and put these display ads there as well from a video standpoint.
Yeah, cool. And are you doing YouTube ads as well? And if so, what kind of performance are you getting?
So with YouTube, it's funny because it's becoming more of a branding tool for us. Here's what I mean, where it's not converting at the best rate that we would like to see it anyway. We haven't fine-tuned it, I guess, or maybe that's just what it is. It's just a branding, but you're getting a lot of eyeballs to it. But here's the funny thing is we can't track down to say, okay, this click came from a YouTube ad, which came from there. But whenever we do add YouTube ads, your conversions increase. so, which means the branding is working. But you can't contribute it 100% to that YouTube click, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Are you using CallRail or something similar to track the phone calls that come in and attribute those to the different advertising channels and SEO and all that?
Yes. Yeah, we use CallRail. Well, we love CallRail because we can tie it right down to the Google My Business page, Google My Business profile. I think they call it now. They change it all the time. Google My Business profile. We can tag it to your YouTube. Anywhere you're being found. That's where we know. I mean, Hulu and Peacock and all those are performing great right now. The streaming services.
What about Yelp? Because you can advertise on Yelp.
Yeah, it's funny. I do not have a lot of success on Yelp, at least for my clients, because it's different. They advertise on Avo and in those types of sites, super lawyers and things like that. But Yelp, I have yet to have a success story to share here with Yelp.
Okay, gotcha. So these vertical, like very niche sites for lawyers to advertise to their potential clients. So you mentioned super lawyers. Are there other vertical type sites like that for lawyers to advertise for clients that really perform well? Is super lawyers a good performer?
Superloys is a good one. There's Avo I mentioned. Now, well, Avo is a little different where you answer questions. So we always advocate, um, answer these questions. It's a great place for that. You could track back leads, well, not leads, but actual cases in back into Avo.
What about local service ads? So LSA.
So the LSAs work well. The people who I serve, again, I serve the local small attorney. We're talking about 125, 130, sometimes even $190 per lead. They're charging for that. And if they don't have a strong closing ratio, it's tough because every call counts. But yes, they work great whenever we get them to that point where they now we can use LSAs. Okay, let's go to the LSA route because you're going to get a higher quality lead. I find because they're screened. People they see Google screened right away. It's that perception that this is a viable attorney. But again, the people who I service, they're not really willing to spend that kind of money on it at that point.
Yeah, I mean that can add up for any local business to do local service ads. Google, they could be spending $3, 4, $5,000 a month easy.
Easy. And if you don't have a good closing ratio, that's gonna hurt you. But just doing the regular stuff that we do, the display ads, we're doing the SEO. Sometimes we do some pay per click, but not much because again that adds up as well. But just on SEO and the display ads, that's enough for them to really start growing their practice. Maybe take on another associate or something like that, or even another partner if they want to. And then maybe after 2 or 3 years or less, depending on how fast they grow, then we'll do some LSA.
So what are your favorite tools for local SEO? And I'll just mention one right out of the gate here, Local Falcon. I'm guessing you use that one too. What are some of your favorites? If you want to share just general local marketing tools as well, but yeah, I especially want to hear about local SEO from you.
There's this thing called Local FI. I don't know if you ever heard of them. Local FI, it's a very, very, very good tool. The way it works is just so I'm sure you know this, but maybe some people in the audience won't know. The way Google My Business profile works is they take about a mile radius around you. So if you optimize your Google My Business profile, it will, you're pretty much locked in for about a mile radius. When you provide this tool called Local FI, it actually expands it to 5, and it depends on what level you are. You can do 10-mile radius where you dominate that local, that you expand up to 10. There are different levels, obviously, but you could start out with 5 and then you expand up to 20. That's my favorite local tool to use.
What about things like ranking trackers and different kinds of keyword tools and things like that? Doesn't have to be local SEO specific, but just some favorite SEO tools.
My favorite is Ahrefs. That is going to tell you every single thing, what your competitor's doing, what keyword you should stay away from. I mean, SEMrush is good too, but I don't know. I'm a huge advocate of Ahrefs. It has been my saving grace for my business. If I were to pick out a tool that has saved my business, I think that's the one. That's the one. It's never failed me. It's never said though. I mean, I've had clients that tell me, "No, I want to rank for this keyword. I want." I'm like, dude, you're never gonna get there. Here, I tell them your domain authority is way too low. You know, it's gonna take you 5 years to do this. Forget about that keyword. Here's the keyword you're gonna be, and it's all because of this tool telling me. So yeah, I like that. Now, Uber suggests that's Neil Patel's tool is a good second, well, maybe third tool to use. Are you familiar with that one?
I am, yeah. I used to love it more before it got acquired. Actually, same thing with Answer the Public. Neil bought that tool as well, and so now I don't use Answer the Public. I use Answer Socrates, which is a competitor, and it doesn't have all the hard selling, and that's completely free. Also, asked.com is great for scraping the people also asked questions from Google. Yeah, that's really good. I like that one.
That's a really good thing. So I'm glad you mentioned that. So our goal is there's a way we can get if someone is searching on the internet for something and there's particular questions, we can get your blog actually on that people also ask portion. When we get to that point, it's all gold from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love using or having my clients use the people also asked questions to inform their frequently asked questions page, their editorial calendar for their blog and for their YouTube channel, and just keeping a pulse on what's happening in their industry. It's really good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have a question for you if you don't mind. Am I allowed to ask you questions?
Yeah, of course, of course.
What's your take on this whole AI revolution?
Yeah. I've had a lot of AI focused episodes on the show as of late. I mean, it's certainly the hot thing. I don't think it's going to jump the shark anytime soon. I think it's really revolutionizing how people work. And I love this quote from Peter Diamandis. There are going to be two types of businesses by the end of this decade: businesses that use AI at their core and businesses that are out of business. So, yeah, we have a whole chapter in the fourth edition of The Art of SEO dedicated to AI and how to incorporate generative AI in your SEO work, whether it's keyword research or technical SEO or content creation or editing or title tags or whatever. Yeah, it's just you can use ChatGPT for so many things. You can categorize keywords, and you don't even have to give the tool the groupings. You can just have it come up with them. Just give them a keyword list, kind of set the stage by telling it to imagine that it's an SEO expert or a particular person who you think is really good at whether it's SEO or marketing or whatever, and come up with the thing, whatever it is, the marketing plan, the persona, the ideal client avatar, give it a keyword list and tell it to group them together into categories or topics. And it's just really cool. And to not play with it, I think, is putting your head in the sand.
Yeah, you got to play around with it. We've been playing around with it ever since. I remember when it was before Jasper came out. It was a thing called Jarvis, I believe it was.
Yeah, well, that was the previous name of Jasper, and then I think they got a nasty gram from some lawyer. Jarvis is kind of a Iron Man thing, and you're not allowed to use that.
But I remember playing around with it back then when it was Jarvis. Well, not me per se, but my team, and they would tell me, "Hey, this is what this can do," and all of that. Just preparing myself for for this new wave. At this point, it's what it's helping us do. The reason I ask you is that, we use it basically just to help us get, quicker, just be a little quicker. The way I see it is allowing me now to take on more clients without having to necessarily hire more people, because now the people who I have can now leverage this. I mean, you still have to understand marketing. You still have to understand what makes people react. So you can't just take this thing and just cut and paste it. You have to understand, what the human psychology behind every marketing piece. But it shortens everything for them. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's a great first draft tool. If you're using it to replace team members, I think you're misguided. But if you're using it to augment and assist, I think that's great. I think it's foolish not to.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, I think at this point, had it not been for that, I would have probably had to hire another writer or social media person. Definitely.
Speaking of social media, what do you see working and not working for your niche that not obvious, like not maybe counterintuitive? So social is a way to nurture leads, get clients, and all that sort of stuff. But most of the social media marketing I see, especially from local businesses, is terrible.
Oh yes, it is. I'm going to answer that with a funny story, if you don't mind. I have a client of mine who's a very, very astute personal injury attorney, been around for ages. And there's this one particular gentleman who he's not fond of, but he's a competitor. And he's very rambunctious and loud. Yeah, the total opposite of my client. And he sees him on TikTok doing these videos, and he's getting all this attention on TikTok and everything. So and during our monthly meeting, he says, "Hey Frank, I want to implement some TikTok." And I'm like, "Okay, tell me more," because I know how he is.
First, I want to come out dancing, and
it was kind of weird. I said, "Okay, tell me more." So he's telling me, "Well," and he was kind of beating around the bush for a little bit. Then he finally got into the thing. Why? And he shows me the video of his competitor, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Look, you can't do that. It's not you. That's him. That's his personality. He'll pull that off. You can't pull that off." And I'm saying that with a lot of respect, but you just can't. People will see right through you. And you think they won't, but they will. So what's my take on social media? As long as you use it and you're authentic with its usage, it's a very good tool for attorneys. It's a good tool for any business, really. But you have to be authentic. It's like, for instance, if you're in business law, the platform you need to be in is LinkedIn. 100%. If you're in personal injury, if you're Facebook, Instagram, those are the ones that you need to be in. If you're in estate planning, I say LinkedIn as well. Anywhere high net worth people or whatever, depending on your practice, that's where you need to be, and be consistent. I cater more to the small law firm, so they can't take on all the services that we provide, right? So of course they're going to go for the lead generation services, and they say, "Oh, we'll take care of our own social media," but then they're not consistent. So they'll start out great, and then all of a sudden you don't see anything for like 2 months, and then they go back, but then finally, whenever they get enough money to say, "Okay, let's add social media to it as well," then we'll take care of it, and then they'll see more of a presence. To me, social media is about branding, is about presence. Unless you're going to do some lead generation, and that's different. Now we're going to put some ad budget to it.
Yeah, without ad budget, like on Facebook, for example, you're dead in the water. No ad budget, you're not going to get any reach.
Nope. You get 2 people seeing it.
and they'll both be working for you.
Yeah, most likely.
But I really like what you said about social media. If you're inauthentic or you're inconsistent, just you're wasting your time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might as well not even do it. You'll be better off not doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Regale us with some case studies of some lawyers that you've changed their lives. Now they're vacationing in the Bahamas, and you can hardly reach them anymore because they're just sipping pina coladas all day long.
Unfortunately, I don't have any of those. Maybe the next time you invite me over, I'll have one of those. But I will have. I do have a few great stories of attorneys who came to us very very skeptical because they've been burnt in the past by, guys like me. They were willing to meet me halfway and take a chance on me, and now are so busy that they always cancel our monthly meetings. They're in court, or they just don't have the time, or they're reviewing the case, yada yada yada. I've got at least two or three attorneys that are in that boat right now. A couple of other stories where I can share with you, whereas hey, now I'm able to take on an associate. Now I can, I had a sole practitioner who hated, absolutely hated to do family law. Those are the stories I can share with you. I wish maybe the next time, like I said, I'll be able to say, hey, now this guy's in Hawaii and here's the picture.
He has his team replacing him. Yeah. And so, what does your business look like in terms of associates or the different kinds of specialists on your team? And how's the growth path been for you over these last, 15 years?
Pretty decent. I finally hunkered down and decided on a business model, and that is to have very low W 2s and a bunch of 1099s. That's worked on my favorite. 2012, I would have quit before, because I started hiring all these people, and I didn't take a salary for myself, and all that. That just didn't work. So now I have my admin, my ops person, and that's it. I used to have a developer, but no more. 1099. Everyone else is a 1099. My social media person is a 1099. My graphic designer is a 1099. My media buyer is a 1099. That's how you do it. At least that's how I wanted to do it.
Yep. And so, what's the future look like for your company?
I really want to grow this thing. My goal is 5 million. I'm not there yet, obviously, but that's my goal. I want to get to the $5 million mark.
So, where do you see the future in terms of not just AI and SEO tools incorporating advanced technologies and stuff, but like, where do you see SEO and marketing and local businesses, let's say in 5 years' time? Because I'm guessing that things are going to be massively, like transformatively different in 5 years' time. So I'm curious to hear what your vision is.
I'm thinking from a local perspective, now that AI has basically taken the news by storm. Everyone's going that route. The whole metaverse thing is going to be huge with local, where you can somehow virtually meet with people in your law office. Or maybe your law office is a metaverse office now. I don't know. I think things are moving so fast that can easily be in 5 years, or maybe even less.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like we've already seen the massive shift from people listening to radio, even like Sirius XM is now just replaced with time shifted internet radio. It's podcasts and streaming on Spotify or Pandora or whatever. They're not listening to the radio anymore. So imagine how antiquated it's going to be in 5, 10 years, whatever it is. What, you're fighting traffic to go in and meet your lawyer in an actual office building downtown? Like, what are you doing that for?
I had this conversation with one of my attorneys. The space of personal injury is going to be vastly different as these self-driving cars become more popular, where the accidents diminish. Now you're still going to get your slip and falls and medical malpractice and all that, but the car crashes can diminish tremendously with that technology.
Yeah. It's interesting times ahead for sure.
My whole thing since I started in 07, Stefan, has been to stay ahead of the curve, or at least try to stay ahead of the curve of technology, and then offer whatever I see as the future to my clients and say, hey, this is where we should be moving, and here's why. So that's my goal.
Yeah, it's cool. Excellent. So how do our listeners who are interested in working with you and happen to be law firms, how do they get in touch?
Easy. Just give us a call, 888-416-7752. Ask for either myself or my ops person, my ops manager, who's Beth Marciano. She's great. Or you could just visit our website, lbmsllc.com. Take a look at what we're all about. If you're looking to grow your law firm and really take it to the next level in the next few years, just reach out.
Awesome. And what would be the last pearl of wisdom that you want to leave our listener with that we haven't already talked about?
Attorneys tend to be always the last ones to jump in the bandwagon. I would say try not to be, I mean, yes, always be prudent and do your homework, due diligence, and all of that, but try not to always be last, because with the way things are moving in technology, if you're going to go the technology route to grow your business, that is, you could be left behind. So that's my words of wisdom. Try not to be the last.
The laggard loses. Be the early bird. Yep, I agree. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Frank, and thank you, listener. Get out there, make it a great day, make it a great week. We'll catch you in the next episode. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off.